Today is the 85th anniversary of Walt Disney Animation Studios' second animated motion picture, Pinocchio. That movie was released in theaters on February 23, 1940. It was the same because Walt Disney did the same thing just like he did on Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and he decided to make a different movie just like the same success in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So Pinocchio was created by Geppetto at his workshop in Italy, and he wished that he wanted to have Pinocchio as a real boy. And Jiminy Cricket arrived at the workshop and saw a magic blue fairy and brings Pinocchio to life. He gave him some tips. He needs to prove himself brave, truthful, and unselfish, and someday he will be a real boy. And when Geppetto woke up, he realized his dream did come true. The next day, he sent Pinocchio to school. But before he tried, he met a fox named Honest John, foul fellow, and a cat named Gideon, and takes Pinocchio to the puppet theater from Stromboli. Jiminy tries to stop Pinocchio from trusting Honest John and Gideon, but it was no use. But at least he tried. But just then he performed at the puppet show for Stromboli show, and it was a huge success. But Geppetto was worried, but he managed to find Pinocchio to bring him back home. And then Pinocchio was double-crossed and locked in a cage by Stromboli. He will make lots of money for him. It belongs to him now. And Jiminy came back and tried to unlock the cage and help Pinocchio escape, but it was no use. The Blue Fairy came back, but Pinocchio tries to tell the truth, but sometimes he couldn't resist. He ended up telling lies, which caused his nose to grow. In fact, he wasn't ready to tell the truth. But just then, the Blue Fairy forgave him and released the magic, and his nose was grow in reverse and back to his normal size. And leave the cage, and Jiminy and Pinocchio leave the coach from Stromboli before he'll be spotted and headed back home. And then Pinocchio met Honest John again and take him to Pleasure Island. Jiminy was desperate to stop him, but it was no use as well also. And Pinocchio went to Pleasure Island and befriended with a boy named Lampwick. But just then, it was the sinister plot from the coachman, and Jiminy discovered that the boys has transformed into donkeys and about to sell them to the salt mines or to the circus or any of the sort. He managed to warn Pinocchio, but it was too late, but not too late to help him escape. But as Lampwick, he got transformed completely into a donkey. But Pinocchio was a half donkey and managed to escape Pleasure Island. And they return home and realize that Geppetto, Cleo, and Figaro aren't here. And the Blue Fairy's dove sent a message about Geppetto's disappearance. He's been looking for him for a day, and then he was swallowed by a giant whale named Monstro. And Pinocchio went back to the sea, and Jiminy followed him to find him. But just then, Pinocchio was found by Monstro, and he was inside the whale, except Jiminy. And he finally reunited with Geppetto, but he managed to help him escape, to create a fire and a smoke to make Monstro sneeze. And then Jiminy, Pinocchio, Figaro, Cleo, and Geppetto got away, and the chase commenced. Monstro chases Pinocchio, but just then he managed to make a last charge, and Monstro slammed into the wall, and they made it to shore. But Jiminy found Pinocchio lying lifeless. Geppetto was mourning Pinocchio after he gave his life to save his father. When the Blue Fairy arrived, she transformed into a real boy. And just then, Geppetto, Figaro, and Cleo celebrated, and Jiminy celebrated too, as their dreams do came true. And and, and Jiminy received a badge, and he was truly a conscience. And that's how the story ends well. And I honestly love Pinocchio the most. And I got the DVD back in 2009 or any of the year. I don't remember. That was a long time ago. But at least I did see it again and watched it. But I really loved that. Anyways, let me know in the comments. And this is Minion Fan 1024 signing off.